Tuesday. One day I'm playing video games, planning on doing so for our summer, and the next, I'm going to an outstate water park. Kids, get your stuff ready. We're going to Soak Central. Holy crap, Dad! Next time you remind us at least a day before a trip like this. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Soak Central. But it's 3 states away, and Dad just said it as if it were 25 miles away. Tops! It turns out Dad planned a trip in private, and he packed our packs yesterday. Now that's dedication, or should I say, ambition. Now, I've watched so many road trip films, I pretty much expect this trip to be a total disaster. So, look out, Grimsworld. Looks like we're gonna be the new you. So, we got our stuff ready and head towards the car. Mom was arguing that we should have flown, but Dad said the decision was final. We were gonna drive. Not only did he want to have more family time, but he was not gonna pay an extra $1,000 just for some dumb flight. Frankly, as long as Dad's plan isn't too ambitious, I don't give a damn. However, we came to a halt when we noticed a huge problem. We had way too much luggage, and a lot of it was unnecessary too, such as Dad's fishing rods and Manny's toy train set. Roger was even stupid enough to bring our Xbox console with us. And guess what Mom did to solve the luggage problem? Guess, just guess. She threw us stuff we didn't need in the trash! Yes, even our Xbox is going to landfill, never to be seen again. Too late to turn back now, though. As I'm writing this, we have already left the neighborhood, and now the town. By the time a few minutes passed, pretty much everyone went their own separate ways. I played Twisted Wizard Mobile on my phone, Manny played on his Leapfrog Epic, and Roderick even called a friend. Though, I don't think Mom appreciated that we were using our electronics for entertainment because she suddenly confiscated them, and when I asked her how we were supposed to entertain ourselves, she said we could look outside and enjoy the view. All I could see out of the window were the endless woods, and I swear, I saw a Mingo kid standing by one of the trees, just looking at me. Wait, Mom just rolled out the windows, presumably for us to get a better view, but all it did was blow window out. Holy fuck! My fucking phone flew out the fucking window! Hey, if you're wondering where the original 4th page is, let's just say it was a written version that ran from the King's Speech. In fact, I didn't stop swearing until Mom threatened to ground me for a week if I didn't. Thank God I still have a physical paper journal with me, instead of some dumb digital note on my phone. Anyway, Mom said if us boys need some entertainment, then we could play I Packed My Bag. Basically, it goes like this. One player says, I packed my bag, and in it, I put, followed by some random item. However, a player gets disqualified if they forgot an item they previously packed. And I have to admit, it was kinda fun. A little boring, yes, but still fun nevertheless. Even that piece of shit Manny breaking the rules and getting away practically scot-free. I packed my teddy bear! Jesus Christ. Where do I start? Well, we eventually stopped playing. I packed my bag, but not in the way you expect. In fact, it stopped kinda abruptly, and it was kinda dark too. If anything, it was kinda traumatizing. Sorry if I'm using the word kinda too much. I'm trying to exaggerate anything. Anyway, let me explain what happened. When it was Roderick's turn, yes, Roderick for some reason wanted to play. He still remembered what he previously packed. He also had a hard time thinking of a new item pack. I think he took the game a bit too seriously, if you ask me. But then, he said something that shocked everyone in the car, even Manny! iPhone XS, PlayStation 4, oh yeah, and Playboys! It was so shocking, in fact, that Dad slammed on the brakes in the middle of the that. Though how Roger obtained those magazines, I will never truly know. Everyone got real silent after Dad stopped the car. He didn't even pull over. But then, Mom broke the silence. Hold on! You brought porn to the car? Wow. It kind of surprised me that instead of Mom calling a pretentious name like provocative magazine or inappropriate content, she straight up called it porn. Though, that's not very accurate, because without the nude pics and shit, it would actually be some regular magazine. Unfortunately, Roderick took that idea the wrong way. I only read for the articles, I swear! That's what they all say, Roderick. That's what they all say! I mean, god damn it, why couldn't you just explain to Mom that Playboys aren't technically porn? You could have saved both of our asses, literally, but no, just had to use the overly used phrase, didn't you? And well, that's when shit hit the fan. Mom and Dad got out of the car and headed towards the trunk. And I knew for sure they were going to find the Playboys in Roderick's suitcase and that both him and I were going to be done for. But then, a miracle from God himself happened when a sun ray hit our car. And when Mom and Dad opened the trunk, all of our luggage spilled out and fell onto the floor. Now, you're probably thinking that at that moment, me and Roderick made a run for it towards the horizon. Nope, the luggage did stall them, but only for a few seconds, and unfortunately, they found not one, not two, but 5 Playboy magazines in Roderick's suitcase. Damn it, I should have known that sunray was only a coincidence. They also got out the belt. Yes, the belt. The rumored belt Roger was talking about. The one I tried to discourage Dad from using, but to no avail. I could only watch in shock as Mom and Dad forced Roderick out of the car. The only thing I could really do was to watch Roderick helplessly bend over on the car's rear bumper, with Dad getting the belt ready. It was like watching his execution, and I knew I couldn't let my brother Roderick down. Not only could I not let him take all of the blame, but I did not want to risk getting killed by him afterwards. No, I had to do something. So, just when it looked like Roderick was about to get his ass whooped, I blurted out something. Wait! Mom and Dad immediately turned their heads towards me, and I lied that I was the one who packed the Playboys, not Roderick, and after a few seconds of Dad giving me a death glare, I thought my plan worked. Roderick even gave me a look of gratitude. Or so I thought my plan worked. Unfortunately, Dad simply dismissed me with a nice try, son, and then continued what he was doing. Oh man, I am sorry, Roderick. Just kidding, not sorry. Now, I don't want to blatantly say what happened to Roderick, because if he catches a glimpse of my journal, he'll beat me to a pulp. Besides, it has apparently become a fetish, and I do not want to give you perverts any boners, so I'll put it this way. Dad, Roderick. Now, to say that it wasn't a pretty sight is an understatement, because before Dad actually Roderick, he made him put his down. I know it's to make the more painful, but you can't do that on a fucking highway. I think at least 20 people called the cops, and if anything, I think it only humiliated both Dad and Roderick. After that, Dad got a lighter, burned the Playboys, and threw them onto the verge. Then we drove off, and I was surprised that we didn't get pulled over. Yet. Roderick cried himself to sleep, and I couldn't tell if it was from the or from the burnt Playboys. Frankly, I think he should be grateful that Dad didn't make him watch them burn. Anyways, after what felt like 3 hours of miserable driving, we stopped at some mediocre gas station. We were getting the stuff we needed, like ibuprofen for Mom and Dad, a candy bar and soda for me, and even a Time magazine for Roderick. Either Mom and Dad forgot about the spanking, or they simply let him off the hook. However, just when we were about to purchase our supplies, I heard a news report on a nearby TV.
Breaking news, MK! This just in. Fugitive child abuser is on the loose. He was last seen on Interstate 80 near a Dodge Grand Caravan.
Okay, my dad is many things, but he is not a child abuser, per se. Yes, I know what he did, but Roderick kinda deserved it, so I forgive him. Anyway, once we heard the news, we immediately dropped our supplies, ran to the car, and spit the fuck out of there. We weren't gonna let Dad get spotted, and don't even mention assisting a fugitive. We had to take a detour to avoid getting spotted. At first, it was some minor concrete roads, but within 5 minutes, it became 1 or 2 lane dirt paths in the woods. There were so many trees, their shadows made it look like it was night. We tried finding out location via the GPS, but it was broken. I guess we gotta get it looked at. Oh well, looks like we're gonna have to wing it. And nothing went horribly wrong in the woods. Until we realized that we were driving on private property. And that's when we realized we fucked up big time. Because the last part of the sign said that if we got caught, we would be killed. So Dad turned off the engine. I'm guessing an attempt to conceal our location, but I don't think it mattered because the landlord probably heard us on the way in. Then, after what felt like an hour or so, I fell asleep after several horrifying minutes of trying to keep quiet. I heard a scream in the distance. In fact, everyone in the car heard it. We were so scared shitless. Maybe managed his pants though. The Dad started the engine and drove off faster than you can say, "Get the fuck out of there!" Then, before I knew it, we were driving out of the woods like there was a wildfire behind us. Though, I guess I was behind a little too little because I could see fire in the distance behind us. That son of a bitch acted deserted though for trying to kill us. We then looked around the car to see if everyone was okay, and that was the case. Except for one person, and that person was Mom! She wasn't even in the car. Then we put 2 and 2 together and realized that when we heard the scream earlier, that must have been Mom getting kidnapped by the landlord! Holy shit! Holy shit! Needless to say, we drove back to the private property, or at least tried to. Without a GPS, we were pretty much lost. Every turn we made, we were on a different unfamiliar road. It's like we were so scared that we forgot the route to the property. Not to mention that the actual wildfire was getting closer and closer, so not only did we have to stealthily save Mom, but we also had to outrun the wildfire. Talk about a double whammy. And to make matters worse, the headlights didn't work either, so we could barely see a damn thing. And I don't want to be too repetitive, but let's just say that if you had a drinking game for every time we had a near collision, you would die because of the blood alcohol level. However, we did fail to dodge one tree, though it wasn't a tree. In fact, it looked kind of familiar, and when all the dust settled, it turned out that we crashed through a wall of a trailer home. It must have been on the private property because we saw Mom tied to a wall and by the side of a ball gag on Mom's mouth and spiked leash on her neck. We knew that the landlord's intentions were far from good. Speaking of which, there were also 2 guys dressed in black robes in the room, and that's when we realized that not only were they perverts, but they were also part of a cult! Obviously, we weren't about to let those 2 assholes sacrifice Mom, nor let them seduce her, so we got out of a car to confront them. However, Roderick immediately started screaming like a 2-year-old, making us look less intimidating. Though I couldn't blame him because I could see why he freaked out. I mean, there were pentagrams and other culty shit all over the floor, walls, and even the ceiling. There were also some blood on the floor. Unfortunately for Roderick, that was apparently enough to send him back to the car. Way to screw us over, bitch. Anyway, once we demanded those dickheads let go of Mom, both of them pulled out knives and one of them even threatened to slit Mom's throat if we tried to fight them. So, Dad went to the car and started rummaging for our luggage, and then suddenly, he announced that he had a gun and was not afraid to use it. So cliche, am I right? So, Dad got out of the car with a fishing rod. Aw, crap. When Mom threw away the fishing rods, she must have forgot one of them, and Dad must have mistook the handle for a handgun's grip and trigger. I guess you could say that he brought a fishing pole to a knife fight. And just when it looked like we were going to get our throats slit, Dad swung the fishing pole around like he was Indiana Jones, and one of the guys, I think the landlord, eyes immediately started bleeding, and then it flew out of its socket. Yeah, it turns out that Dad cast the fishing pole and yanked the landlord's eye out with the hook. Huh, I guess it wasn't so useless after all. Also, the other guy accidentally cut the ball gag strap off, so Mom could finally breathe. She didn't beckon to him, and when she got his attention, she kicked him right in the fucking nuts. That was pretty badass for a damsel in distress. We freed Mom from the wall and got back in the car. However, the landlord got back up and started charging us with a knife, chanting, "Hail Satan," or something like that. So, we drove that fucking bitch into the wall and reversed out of there right before the wildfire engulfed the trailer home. Whew! That was a close call to 911. We still can't be tracked, you know. We didn't decide to stay on paved roads after that, but still only minor roads though. However, Mom was so exhausted that she gave up her front row seat in the car. Mom and I swapped places since the back was the most uncomfortable seat. And that's the end of the flashback. It was one hell of an adventure, but damn, it probably gave me PTSD, let alone this. At least the front seat made up for it. It has more leg room, it has air conditioning, and it even provides a better view of the countryside. That's something you don't see every day, you know. Oh, and as I'm writing this, there's a catchy song on the radio that Dad apparently likes. Not that I have a problem with it. In fact, it sounds kind of familiar.
I found out long ago.
Anyways, it's around dinner time now, so all of us are pretty much starving. However, we still had to stay on Rural Pass for obvious reasons, and let me tell you, it came at a price. There were no major restaurants in the area, which is really sucky because I was kinda in a McDonald's mood. And to make matters worse, practically every restaurant in the area was abandoned. Luckily, we found a 50s diner on the side of the road. Food was decent. Not great, but not mediocre either. I mean, the diner was 68, scratch that, 70 years out of style. But it's not like they didn't update their kitchenware, otherwise we would have gotten food poisoning. At least they had hamburgers, and pretty good ones too. However, just when we were paying our bills, things started to go downhill really fast, and I thought we'd remain conspicuous in a small town, but apparently not. You see, as we went to the front counter to pay the bill, the clerk said she recognized Dad and that he was a child abuser on Interstate 80. Holy shit! She just called Dad out, and Dad did not seem to take that too well. He whispered something into the clerk's ear, walked her out the front door, and took her out back. A few moments later, I heard a loud clank, as if someone was bludgeoned by a crowbar or something. So we went around back to see what happened, but before we rounded the corner, Dad came out, dragging something behind him, and it was the body of the clerk. I couldn't tell if she was dead or simply unconscious, but there was blood dripping from her forehead. I'm guessing that Dad didn't mean to hit her that hard because he was chuckling nervously. Dad said that he wasn't going to leave the body because that would scream murder. No, he had another plan in mind. Dad's plan was to tie the body to the car's roof, cover it with a tarp, and put some luggage around to disguise it, and I thought it was a stupid idea, as it would only exacerbate the problem, or at least in my opinion. I would rather hide a body in the woods than on the roof of my car. But before I could protest, Mom and Dad were already getting out some bungee cords and a tarp, and after a few minutes, it was hard to believe that we were driving with some luggage on the top of the car. In fact, I was kind of scared. Not so much for the covered body, but because of our luggage. I thought that some of it, especially the smaller suitcases, would fly out and not really make the tarp suspicious, but simply make us lose some valuables. Hell, I snuck in a pack of M&Ms in my extra suitcase. I bet it's even illegal to stow luggage on a car's roof. Also, I was worried I would get pulled over at any time, but surprisingly, it didn't happen within the first hour or two. Then we heard a police siren and pulled over. The officer got out of his car and walked over to Dad's side, and man, he looked pissed. So much so that he forced Dad out of his car as violently as he was allowed to, and by the look of the officer's wild hand gestures, I feared the worst and realized what happened. You see, at first, I thought the officer was talking about the or even the luggage on our car's roof. However, when the officer insisted us to get out of the car, I found out what actually happened. Apparently, there was a subtle stream of blood trickling down our trunk door, and eventually, one of the bungee cords gave way, causing us to lose some luggage, including the body. It hit the pavement, presumably killing the clerk, if she was still alive. And to make matters worse, some car ran over the body, only to flip over and land roof side down. And that's apparently why the cop pulled us over. He didn't even recognize our vehicle because it was covered in mud from earlier, and thank God for that. However, in my opinion, this is actually worse than child abuse. First a and now a car accident, all for a trip to a water park. Now, Dad tried to explain everything, but the officer didn't want to hear it. He seemed too pissed to listen to a word Dad said. Then Dad remarked that it was all an accident, and the officer agreed and started sniveling. He said it was just like the one my three best buds were in. Hot damn! Looks like Dad brought up a loved one's death.
Well, I bet my best friend $10 that he didn't have the balls to lie in the middle of the street. And you know what happened? He got hit by a car at the 25-second mark. It flipped over and burst into flames. And you know who was in the car? My mom and my brother. I lost 3 friends that day.
You see, son, this is the kind of shit they did back then. And you know what happened next?
This officer bursts into tears and Kirk crying in the hood of our car.
Oh, please. I know you lost your mom, brother, and best friend, but you make William Shatner look normal, for God's sake. Anyway, he pretty much dismissed us, whatever get out of sight meant, which means we're off the hook. For now. Soon it was pretty late, like about 9 or 10 in the evening, so of course we had to find a place to sleep. We couldn't sleep in our car because of you-know-what. We need to find a hotel, but according to the GPS, there weren't any within a 50-mile radius. Or at least it said there weren't. Just when we were about to give up, there was an old motel near some abandoned houses. It looked pretty crappy, to say the least, but at least it had air conditioning and color TV. Or that's what the sign out front said. I bet it wasn't even HD TV or even flat screen. Huh. I guess the GPS only finds good hotels, which I don't exactly blame. When we entered the lobby, my nose almost started bleeding because of the smell. It was like a mix between mildew, dust, and dried up cum. I bet the latter smell came from the receptionist, who appeared to be masturbating something under his desk. I hope it's not what I think it is. But here's the thing, the receptionist looked like some 40-year-old woman, kind of like Mom's cousin Stacy. Her skin was very wrinkly, as if she was wearing a mask. I didn't really find it suspicious though, because I usually mistake senior citizens for Roger's friends in Halloween costumes, and I didn't find her masturbating suspicious either, because I assumed that she was humping, if girls even do that. However, at the desk, the smell of cum was so strong, I had to swallow my vomit, so I couldn't make it worse. I couldn't tell the receptionist had sex or not, but that wasn't important though. What was important was getting a room to sleep in, of course. Anyways, we got a room key and went to our second floor room. It smelled better in the lobby, but it reeked of pot. And yeah, that was enough for me and Dad to finally throw up. Roger, on the other hand, well, he didn't seem to mind. I'll just say that. We cleaned the vomit, but the smell of marijuana was hard to eradicate. So much so that when we gave up, we barely got rid of any of the smell. We didn't really mind though, because it's not like it affected our bodies per se. Maybe Roger's an exception, but still. However, as I'm writing this down, I still can't sleep. Not because of the lack of space, but because I'm afraid Roger will smother me in my sleep. I mean, even the is water under the bridge. I still can't risk it. I have no idea what time it is, but if I guess, it's probably... Huh? Wait, hold on. Looks like someone's at the door. So, I'm kinda reluctant to open the door. I tried peeking through the peephole, but it seemed to be blocked by something. So, I did the next best thing, looking for a little crack underneath the door, and I managed to catch a glimpse of a pair of dirty feet. And even that's an understatement. They were covered in bunions and dirt, and were even a shade of greenish red. Whoever was at the door had some pretty poor hygiene. I also saw something drop, like a lens cap or something. The guy's bending down to pick it up, and I'm taking this opportunity to look for the peephole again. Wish me luck. Update! Oh, fuck! It's a fucking Satanist! The landlord was wearing a dress and a mask! He was the receptionist this whole time! I should have known it was all fucking set up! We're so fucked! Crap! I can finally see where our GPS didn't list this motel because it's actually closed! The Satanist must have made it look open, and to enhance the illusion, the landlord literally cross-dressed as a female receptionist. Though, I gotta give him credit because it must have took a lot of effort to clean this shit pile up. Anyway, I'm trying to stay as quiet as possible, not only to avoid waking my family up, but also make it look like the room's empty. Trust me, it's a lot harder than you... See what I mean? It just takes just one speck of dust or whatever to give yourself a... We know you're in there, kid. Well, shit. What the fuck am I gonna do? How the fuck did the Satanists survive a wildfire? Are they even real, or are they just the spirits? So many questions, but so little solutions, if any. Oh, fuck. They're starting to bust down the door. How have anything on me, so I'm gonna have to use a clothes hanger as a weapon. I can't hold the door anymore because they're overpowered. Oh, God! They just busted it down. The landlord's wearing an eye patch with an eye drawn on it. So now I have to deal with Snake Eye and Pliskin Reject. Oh, crap. Oh, crap. I don't have time to draw a picture of it because my life is on the line. But if I don't make it out of this, no, tell Rowley that I love... Oh, shit! He's got a knife. He's gonna throw it at me. I'm fucked. There's no way out of this. He's already thrown them. What the fuck just happened? Wow, it's like it was all a nightmare. Because it was. I was writing down what I dreamed. Or at least I hope I merely dreamed. I mean, there's not a scar on my chest or whatever, so I guess it was all a nightmare. I wish this vacation was a nightmare though, but damn. I must have had you hanging, didn't I? Anyway, according to the Nice clock, it's currently 7:40, which means today's Wednesday. Damn it, I was really looking forward to watching some Comedy Central so I can get my daily South Park fix and maybe some future... Scratch that, I pretty much only come for South Park. Well, I want to watch only South Park, but Mom and Dad were hogging up the TV to watch some NBC News. You see, South Park, along with some other shows, is practically the whole reason I've been swearing left and right. And if you're wondering how the fuck I bypassed the V-chip, don't ask. Anyway, I decided to see what kind of politics the news were talking about today, but it wasn't politics they were talking about. No, they were talking about a wildfire.
Breaking news! SMK, a wildfire in Pennsylvania has burned over 10,000 acres and has claimed over 20 lives.
Damn, it must have been the wildfires we outran earlier. The one that killed a Satanist. Hopefully. Luckily, the news anchor said that 2 charred bodies were found in a burnt down trailer home, so we don't have to worry about encountering them again. What we do have to worry about, though, are the Playboys. You see, the news anchor said that the source of the fire was at Interstate 80, and that there were reports of a van throwing a flaming magazine onto the verge. Even though the owner's name was withheld, we still need the magazines belong to us, or at least Roderick. You know what? He did the blame this time because Dad is in more than enough trouble already. Now, after the news report, Mom suggested we all drive back home. Unfortunately for her, that just pissed Dad off. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? No! You can't be! We went through all of this crap and you pussies want to go home? For Christ's sake! We're only 2 hours away from Soak Central. What the actual fuck is wrong with you people? We outran a wildfire, fought a cult, and even escaped a car accident. If we survive that, we can surely make it to Soak Central. You with me or not? Holy shit! For a bumbling person like Dad, that was actually a pretty good speech, and he was right for once too. We drove for about 16 hours and we almost threw out our hands and went home? I mean, we dodged a lot of bullets, so to speak, thankfully. Like that one scene from The Matrix, damn it. So, we all agreed to continue our journey. Not only because we were so damn close to the park, but also because it became clear that Dad wasn't going to take no for an answer. Not that we were going to choose an answer, of course. So we packed our bags and drove off, and after what felt like 2 hours or so, we finally saw it. Soak Central! Well, at least a billboard advertising it, and even with the outdated trendy mascot, it was still a pretty cool looking billboard. Though, it begs the question, did Dad even check the website? It's a move that Grimswald would have easily done to avoid the chaos I went through, at least in today's standards. Oh crap, I just realized that out of the 32 pages I've written so far, practically none of them explain Soak Central. Well, for starters, it's one of the largest, if not the largest, water parks in the world. It's also twice the size of Noah's Ark in Wisconsin, at least. In fact, it actually makes Disneyland look small, even if it already is. And the icing on the cake is that Soak Central has all kinds of themed areas, so it's pretty much a Disney world of water parks. There's over 100 water slides and counting, so it's almost as if you can never ride them all in one day. I hope that's not the case this time, though. Well, it looks like we're finally here at Soak Central. It took 8 hours of miserable driving to get here, but let me tell you, it's worth it. Or at least it better be, Holy fuck! Holy fucking deed past me! Not even those 2 words to describe how astonished I am right now. Soak Central looks a lot bigger than it did on Google. I mean, there are slides in every direction. The slide towers look like skyscrapers. Even the Soak Central sign makes a Jumbotron looks like a 16-inch TV screen. This place is big. No, gargantuan. So much so, I think I'm gonna need surgery to fix my jaw that just hit the ground. Anyways, I'm gonna leave my No! Journal! Fuck! Oh god, I gotta stop calling it that. In the car. That way, when I come back, I have all kinds of stuff to write down. Wish me luck! Again. Oh god. Oh fuck. How do I begin? Well, I'll spare you the details, but let's just say that we did get to ride a majority of the rides. Not all of them, sadly, but still an abundance of them. However, we may not be able to go Soak Central for a long time, or ever for that matter. So, as I said earlier, let me explain everything. We walked to the park entrance, all anticipating to ride some water slides like a UFO escape or a Lost Temple River adventure. But alas, before we could even enter the front gates, we were greeted by a statue of a huge mascot holding up a sign that said, "Sorry folks, we're closed for 2 months to refurbish America's favorite and largest water park."
We drove 650 miles just to be greeted by some dumbass kid telling us that this park's closed for 2 fucking months? No. No. But it's not like we have a choice. The fine print said that sneaking into the park could get us banned, so I was about to accept what happened and go back to the car. But, of course, Dad had yet another plan in mind. He tried picking the lock, and when that didn't work, he tried climbing the fence! Now, here's a tip for all you jackasses out there. Never, and I mean never, climb a water park's fence, because when Dad got to the top, he got electrocuted, because turns out that the fence was actually an electric one. Good to know. Dad fell into the other side, and a power surge somehow opened the front gate. We ran for the gate to see if Dad was okay. He was, but his hair looked like Bart Simpson's. He was all jittery too because of all the electricity. Really smart move, Dad. Nevertheless, Dad stomped up to the courtyard, where there was a giant fountain with all the mascots on it. That caught the attention of a security guard, and you'll never guess who it was.
Oh, sorry folks, park's closed. The kid out front should have told ya.
It was Leland! I was wondering where he went since the second semester of 7th grade. He must have graduated high school at that point, or even went to college. I mean, he is older than Roderick, so that's probably true. I guess the security job of his is some sort of summertime job, or even his career. Who knows? Anyway, Dad demanded that Leland open the park up for us, but he replied that he didn't even have control of the park's hours, and even if he did, he wasn't allowed to open it for another 2 months. Though Dad didn't seem to take that too well and gave Leland a little shock. The kid says you're closed. I say you're open.
Ouch! Sweet Jesus!
Yeah, that was painful enough for Leland to begrudgingly comply to Dad's orders. He desperately walkie-talkied to construction workers to operate the rides, as if he was being held hostage, which he sort of was. He also said it was for a special, unexpected visitor. Not like it helped anything. I mean, they probably wouldn't even let the president enter the park. So, Leland and some confused construction workers operated some rides for us, and when they asked Leland what the hell was going on, Dad gave Leland a death glare and slid his fingers on his throat. And Leland understood the threat and refused to answer any questions. Then, after a few mediocre war slides, Leland asked if we had enough. I was about to answer yes. As much as I love Soak Central, I was not about to get ambushed or even arrested. But before I could, Dad called bullshit and told Leland to take us to the big ones. And I knew what he meant. The slides, the huge show buildings, ones that put the Guardians of the Galaxy one at Disney World to shame. The Lost Temple, UFO Escape, and the trip to Hello Underworld, great way to dodge the radar, are among those big ones. Hell, some of them are even hidden underground, and don't even ask me how the engineers managed to do that. We start with the Lost Temple River Adventure, which is like a mixture between Jurassic Park at Universal Studios and Indiana Jones at Disneyland. And Dad just held Leland at shock point throughout the entire ride, or at least try to look as threatening as possible since they were 2 seats apart.
Has your dad ever killed someone?
Well, just free penises. Yeah, free penises. Oh, fuck. Sorry, Dad. That was the first thing I could think of. No homo, though, but it is your fault for missing out on the ride. Anyways, after that ride, we went to the trip to Hello Underworld, which at first glance seemed to be a normal water slide that went under a hill. However, by the size of the hill and the fact that it didn't come to an end at the other side, I knew that was definitely not the case. Now, the climb at the slide tower was a real challenge, especially for Leland. It must have been at least 100 feet tall. It might as well be the next Verrucht for all I know. However, just when we were about to enter a raft, we heard something. We heard someone underneath us yell, "Freeze!" and some guns cocking too. The voice also told us to spread our legs, put our hands behind our heads, and get against the railings. And when I looked down, it turns out that we were right next to the parking lot, where there was a shit ton of police cars and officers, and I think they filled at least a fourth of the lot.
I also noticed that we were right next to the Soak Central sign, which meant our car was right underneath us. I was thinking of stealing down a sign when I had a chance, but it didn't appear to be in arm's reach, let alone jumping distance. Plus, I didn't want to get shot anyway, so I just stayed put. Leland, on the other hand, was just mumbling random shit under his breath, something like, "My God, what have I done?" And I knew something fucked up was about to happen, and I seen you right, because guess what Leland did right after that? That motherfucker jumped! At first, Leland struggled to lean over railings, and when he did, it bent down due to his weight. That made a fat ass fall off the slide tower. He was sprawling around as if he was trying to grab something to break his fall. Before he could though, he landed on our car. I am not joking. Leland literally used our car as a cushion. Oh my God! He killed our car! You bastard! Hey, watch your language, Roderick. Now, the police officers behind us were holding handcuffs, ready to arrest us, or maybe just to satisfy their BDSM fetish. Especially on Mom, who obviously wasn't in the mood for that crap. But before the potential perverts could handcuff us, Manny swooped in and saved our asses, so to speak this time, and I knew he was gonna do it sooner or later, but I wish he had done it sooner. You see, Manny was fucking with the control box and managed to press a button that made a raft start to dispatch, and we had just enough time to jump in the raft, grab Manny, and strap in. Adios, motherfuckers! However, once we left the station, all hell broke loose. Quite literally, we went down a big-ass drop at the speed of a Ferrari and into a misty tunnel. It was complete darkness in there, and I thought that we were going so fast we couldn't feel speed. If anything, it felt like we were going backwards from all the force. Now, as interesting as that sounds, however, that was actually not the case, because when the work lights went on, it turns out we were stuck in the middle of a dip section, and the water was turned off too. The police seemed to be responsible for this because they were accompanied by a chucking construction worker holding a wet wrench. God damn it! I thought they were on our side, not the police's. Fuck you, you backstabbing bastards! Fuck you in the ass! So, we were escorted out of the show building and into the parking lot where there was a pulled over limousine. Some guy in a suit came out and I knew that meant serious shit. When he asked what the fuck was going on, a police officer said that they found 5 terrorists in the park. Now, either he had his own definition of the word terrorist or he was being a fucking drama queen. Trust me, they're more dangerous than you think. Luckily, the guy told the officer that he was high and needed to go fuck himself. So he got back in the car and literally sucked his own dick. Wow, I guess he was high. The guy introduced himself as Jared Doswy, the owner of Soak Central, and needless to say, I got Walt Disney vibes from him, even if he did look more like a Six Flags guy. Now, Dad was out of electricity, so he couldn't fight Jared. So, the only thing he could do was to negotiate with him. And, worst case scenario, possibly get a month of community service. And Dad must have explained everything that happened on our trip, from the spanking, oh yeah, by the way, I'm sick of censoring this, fuck Roderick, I basically had the balls to steal my journal, to trespassing because it took at least half an hour for him to negotiate with Jared, and surprisingly, Jared actually seemed empathetic with the situation because he said he had similar experience when he was 15, except that instead of Soak Central, of course, it was Six Flags. How ironic. So, Jared decided on pressing charges on us, which seemed way good to be true. Don't get me wrong, he seemed like a nice guy and all, but I seriously doubt that he actually had jurisdiction to do that. Hell, he just told a police officer to go fuck himself. However, we weren't exactly let off the hook because Jared told us to make up for the no charges. He would have no choice but to ban us from Soak Central. And it was pretty heartbreaking to say the least, so we agreed to ride some of the slides one last time. Without any war outages, of course. We stayed at the park until closing time, and even the SWAT team joined us in the fun. Unfortunately, since that fat-ass Leland crushed that car, I was barely able to retrieve my journal through a small crack. We were seemingly stuck in a parking lot. Luckily, Jared offered us a ride in his limousine. It was pretty luxurious inside, and it even had wine for Mom and Dad. He even bought 5 plane tickets back home for us, which we were obliged to accept. We were all tired of that goddamn road anyway. Again, I'll spare you the details, but we got on a plane with little to no trouble. It may not have been as comfortable as that limo, but it was a hell of a lot better than that motherfucking car. You know, this vacation as a whole seemed very familiar. It was like another reboot of National Lampoon's Vacation. For all I know, it probably is. But I know one thing though, I was right about us being the next Grimm's World. Though this vacation begs a lot of questions too, like, who the fuck was that old lady at the motel? Or what did they do to that dead carcass? Are the police still after us? Only time will tell, I guess. As I'm writing this down, no one in the plane seems to mind that we boarded the plane, so guess we're safe. For now. There's another big question though. Is this the end of our vacations? Altogether? Fuck no! Sure, we might have some restrictions, but it's not like we're prohibited from having our vacation ever again. This kind in particular, yes. We may not be able to go to Soak Central again, but it's not like we drove across 3 states for nothing. The point I'm trying to make is, despite all the chaos that ensued, I am sure we can all get back up on our feet in no time. Literally, because we just landed in the local airport. We need to pack our bags and go home now, so I don't have much time to write down anything else. So I guess that makes this the end.